We're talking about that, and I was in the kitchen, and it was like, man, I didn't think there was rain. Why is it getting so
Why is
dark?
it so dark? It
Yep.
was interesting. So, welcome. Today, we want to talk about the product market fit dilemma for founders and our really scrappy, low effort, low cost approach to getting the insights that you need in 3 steps.
Yes.
So let's jump right in and talk about it. So I guess we should provide some background. So what I've seen over the years, and you've seen it as well,
Hmm.
is founders that come to us and recognize, hey, you're really focused on human-centered design. You care about the human in the loop. I've got a great idea, and I want it to work or
Yes.
fit for my prospective customer. And so, what the first dilemma in that situation is there's a solution
Right.
and not necessarily confidence that that solution fits within a particular user's workflow or life or whatever it is. So, we're always faced with that challenge of getting founders to take a step back and think about capturing that information to figure out, do I have the right solution? Is my idea worthy of commercialization, usage, that sort of thing?
Right.
And what do I need to fill in those gaps to understand whether or not it makes sense?
Right. And to get that funding, right?
Yes.
You have the idea, you need something to back it to get, that funding. And the people who come to us, and this has been the fun part about consulting, is being able to get into that world of true
Mhm.
startups or trying to innovate.
Yes.
Many don't come to you. I think we'll probably end up talking about that a lot of people with ideas or starting have a little startup.
Mm-hmm.
It is more about the solution because they're innovators, right? And
Right.
we need that. But
Right.
you need to put aside that time and a little bit of money to make sure what you're doing fits, who it fits with, and where to go with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to your point, what I've also found over the years is what we position or present to a corporate client, nonprofit client is usually too big, too expensive for the typical startup that's
Yeah.
at that pre-seed or that seed funding stage. And so what we've done is figured out how to package it so that you can figure out how to do it yourself, or for a small fee, we could help you do it. But
Right.
the important part is, let's give you those tools and you figure out, can I figure out ways to do this myself?
Yes. Yes.
So step one in that process is about baselining.
Yes.
So you got a baseline first. Then you want to discover and validate. Okay, so
Yes.
let's jump into baselining. So baselining is all about getting sort of a baseline, as it states, um, effort or understanding of where your solution is.
Yes, where your solution is, right? And that baseline kind of varies when we work with people based on, well, where are you in the process? Like you said, fortunately or unfortunately, sometimes the solutions half built out, but they
Mm-hmm.
haven't done that baseline and they haven't done the heuristics. Then you can kind of jump in there, do some heuristic evaluation, get some early market insight. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we end up saying, let's go back to that drawing board and
Mm-hmm.
make sure we understand, what are you trying to accomplish? What problem are you solving? Even if it's a new space, there's got to be a purpose and
Yeah.
a goal, and just getting out there and figuring out, what does that mean? Whether it's in a workflow or whether it's in day-to-day life for someone, where does this fit in? Is there a need? Is
Yeah.
someone going to buy it, right, before you build it?
That's right. That's the key. Is someone going to buy it or use it? Because in a
Yes.
lot of cases, we've created something that we, in our basement saw it as a good idea, and then you put it out there, and you wonder, why isn't anyone latching on to the
Right.
idea? And the risk in not doing this sort of evaluation is you run the likelihood of not understanding where some of those challenges occur in the experience, if it is a viable idea, where you run the risk of not identifying where to just make slight tweaks or improvements or add a capability to make it something that's useful. And when you look at that market insight that you already have you captured information from your buddies and your friends and your family? Or did you actually go and talk to people who are your target market and not necessarily the people that are closest to you that might
Closest
have
to
an
me.
opinion?
Yep.
Because in some cases, they're going to tell you what you want to hear anyway.
Yes, and we see that a lot, right? And I get it. You have someone who's got a really great idea. They run it by a few people, and it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
that's pretty good. And they're already. I think we've had a recent experience where literally they were solutioning and wanted to work backwards,
Yeah.
and figure out how do we make the market fit. And it doesn't usually work that way. Now and then you have a brilliant idea that, yes, you're going to change the behaviors of users, but you still have to know
What is it you're
their
changing?
models, their mental
Right.
models. Who are you going to go after? What are you going to prioritize to put the hook out there? That sort of thing. So,
Yeah. And so with that heuristic, it's an expert evaluation where you can Google heuristic evaluation,
yep,
the top 10, for example, areas to explore, like recognition versus recall, and can someone recover from errors? So in a lot of cases, when we start projects, that's the first thing that we do is to look at
yep,
where does your solution align to these heuristics or violate them. And so that's
right.
the first step that you can take to baseline is see where do I have opportunities to improve things and do I have the right market insights
Yes,
to say that this is a viable idea.
yep,
Okay, so number two is around discovery. That's our thing. It's about making sure you understand who your market is and what is their motivation to use your solution, product or service.
yes. And this goes back to, what I was saying. Sometimes we end up starting here because there's an idea, there's nothing to really do a heuristic evaluation. So now you really are going out there and just understanding
Mhm.
that base, that target audience, how they're working, what they need, what would change their lives, the kind, what outcomes they'd be looking for. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think this is a place we have a lot of fun. Um, and we actually come up with, our partners, our clients, with
Mhm.
something well beyond what they were thinking, and sometimes it changes the entire
Yeah,
project.
that's a good
Like
point.
you're really off, and that's okay. It's just discovering it early rather than later.
Yes, that's the
So,
important part.
yep, yep,
And when you think about discovery work, identify your segments. Who are your different user types? Find 5, 6 people within each of those segments if you don't have a lot of time and money, and go and talk to those
yep,
folks in the context of what they're doing today.
yes,
Then introduce the idea or concept that you have created and kind of bring together that story of, okay, here's what you're doing today. Here's what my solution does. Now let's look at whether or not you see this as a viable opportunity to optimize, make more accurate, more useful, whatever it is within the way you do things today, essentially.
yes. And keep in mind the lean methodologies. When you are a startup and you're trying to move quickly and you don't have a lot of money, there are a lot of, and we've talked about
Mhm.
them here. There are a lot of quick and dirty methods out there.
Yeah.
Not saying you won't need more, but it can give you really good ideas. Whether you're going to motivate, someone to buy or use or what they need. Yep.
That's right. And so that kind of is a good segue into that last step, which is validation.
Yes.
And this is where you think about creating those no code, low code concepts to get feedback. So in that discovery process, you're understanding those individuals or those consumers at the level of just what are they doing today? What are they
Yep.
using today? What do they need or where are the gaps today? And then when you talk about validation, you're putting those no code, low code concepts in front of them. So don't don't put the cart before the horse and build out a full
Yeah.
blown solution. Create wireframes, create sketches, create storyboards, or something that allows you to put something in
Create
front of
messaging, you
create
know, I
messaging.
mean, there's a
Good
messaging
point.
to this. Yeah. Yep.
And that allows you to get some sort of feedback. And this is also where you can stand up those landing pages to ask people to submit their email if they're interested, or
Yeah.
something that gives you some sort of validation that this is a worthy concept to move forward with.
Yes. And that currency is important, right? Because a lot of times people will say, "Oh yeah, I like this." I mean, how many surveys have you
Mhm.
filled out where it's
Mhm.
like, "Would you use this? It's somewhat likely." Isn't maybe so somewhat likely.
Mhm.
You know, that's not going to help you once you dump millions of dollars into something, and the truth is they're not going to sign up. So I again that you know that landing page, that messaging, the some of the again lean methodologies can really give you an indication whether something's back to the viable and valuable topic of last week.
Mhm.
You know, is what you have viable, that's valuable enough, people will
Mhm.
commit to some degree because of what you're messaging or what you're showing them early on. Then you go to the next step, or you use that data to get more money, right? I had
Yeah.
2,000 people sign up on this landing page. You know, that might get you some more money as well to push forward your idea.
That's right,
Yeah.
right. So, yeah, so to kind of recap, it's about baselining. What do you have today? Conduct that heuristic evaluation. Go ahead and Google that. Look for those top 10 areas to evaluate, and kind of give yourself a checklist of, do I comply or not? And how can I do things differently or better? Where are your market insights? What are you basing this concept on?
Yes.
So that's number one, discovery, in terms of talk to some folks in the market that are not friends and family, but that are folks that you don't know, get the understanding of their workflow, and then
Yep.
finally validate your low code, no code concepts. Get some feedback, get some data in there to help you really validate, is this the right direction to go in?
Yes. Yeah. And following those steps, you can do, you don't always have to spend a year doing that. That's something
Right.
you can follow over and over again, even, as you build out this idea,
That's right.
the stages. So,
Yeah, and we've helped teams do this in 10 weeks or less. So
yes.
it's
Yep.
just a matter of how hard is it to access your market? You know, do you have an understanding of the right people to engage?
Right.
A lot of that is where the heavy lifting comes in. But otherwise, this is a low effort, low cost way
Yes.
to kind of move forward with your ideas. So,
Yeah. Or fail fast. Um,
right.
so, yeah.
Yes. Well, that's a good place to end this conversation. You can reach us at info@leangeeks.net. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Awesome.